Do you remember the late 90s? Back then, video games weren't something you could just download with a click. Kids and teenagers in quiet suburban neighborhoods would wander through weekend flea markets, swap meets, or old pawn shops. The air smelled of dust, fried food, and cheap plastic toys. Somewhere in the back stalls, behind rows of secondhand VCR tapes and knockoff action figures, you'd find the shady computer guys, selling burned CDs with badly photocopied covers. It was a secret little economy. A game that cost $50 at the mall could be yours for $5. Nobody asked where the games came from. Nobody cared. But sometimes, when you take what you shouldn't, you get more than you bargained for. And that's what happened to Eric. He was 14. Eric lived in a small town, the kind with cracked sidewalks and endless rows of yellowing lawns. He didn't have internet. His parents said it was too expensive. So his weekends were spent riding his rusted bike across town, digging through bins at garage sales and flea markets. He loved games, but he only had a handful, gifts from birthdays long past. That Saturday, the flea market was crowded. The smell of funnel cakes drifted through the air as Eric wandered past tables piled with old comic books, wrestling tapes, and cheap knockoff toys. He stopped at a rickety folding table near the exit. It had a cardboard box overflowing with loose jewel cases, discs stacked on top of each other, no sleeves, no covers. The man behind the table looked bored, reading a sports magazine. Eric flipped through the pile. Half-Life, Diablo, Doom. All the classics, cheap, badly labeled, some with permanent markers scrawled across the shiny surface. Then, near the bottom, something caught his eye. It wasn't a famous title. The case was cracked, the cover missing, but stuck inside was a slip of paper. Happy World RPG, scribbled in smudged blue ink. He asked the man, "What's this one?" The man didn't even look up. $2, take it or leave it. Eric dug out the crumpled bills from his pocket. He never even noticed the strange symbol, barely visible, etched into the clear plastic of the case. That night, Eric sat cross-legged on the dusty carpet of his bedroom. His family's old beige PC whirred like a dying fan whenever it booted up. He pushed the disk into the CD drive. It made a horrible clicking sound, then spun up with a whine. The screen went black, then flickered. A grainy, low-res title screen appeared. Happy World RPG. A single smiling, pixelated face floated on the menu. Unmoving, no options, just "Start" in glitchy red text. Eric laughed to himself. Probably unfinished, he thought. But his curiosity won. He clicked Start. The game world loaded. It was an overhead view, a tiny blocky town with crooked houses and NPCs that didn't move. The main character was a chubby boy sprite with big hollow eyes. When Eric tried to move him, the sprite twitched like it was glitching. But it worked. He explored. There were no instructions, no dialogue. The villagers were frozen in place, mouths hanging open in blank pixels. After 10 minutes, the game screen would flicker with static. Sometimes it froze entirely, then jumped ahead on its own. He should have quit, but he didn't. Hours slipped by. When he looked at the clock on his nightstand, it was past 2 a.m. Eric shut the game down. The PC fan whined again as the desktop came back. That's when he noticed it. A new folder, out of place, named For You. He double-clicked it. Inside were dozens of image files, all BMP format, each named with a single number. The thumbnails looked corrupted. When he opened the first one, it was a screenshot of the game, but smeared like the pixels were melting. The next showed the same smiling sprite, but its eyes were now just empty black sockets. The fourth image made him stop. It was his bedroom. A grainy digital photo, the same angle as his bed, his closet door slightly open. But in the photo, the sprite was standing in the closet doorway, its hollow eyes peeking through the crack. Eric slammed the window shut. He right-clicked the folder. Delete. A pop-up. This file is in use. Please close any programs using it. But the game was closed. He tried again. Same message. He rebooted the PC. The folder was still there, except now it was named Still Here. The next day, Eric told his friend Mark at school. Mark was the only other kid in his neighborhood with a PC. "Dude, you probably got a virus," Mark laughed. "Just format your hard drive." But that night, Eric's computer wouldn't even boot into BIOS. The fan spun up, the CD drive opened on its own. He took out the disk and hid it in a shoebox under his bed. For 2 nights, he didn't touch the PC. But when he finally turned it on again, the folder was back. Now named Look Outside, Eric crept to his window. The street below was dark. He saw nothing. But then his monitor flickered, casting faint light across the room. In the reflection of the glass, behind him, the smiling sprite stood in the corner near his closet. He spun around. Nothing. Eric's neighbor, Miss Calder, owned an old golden retriever named Buddy. Buddy would bark every night around 3 a.m., scratching at the fence that separated their yards. After the folder appeared, Buddy's barking grew more frantic, whining, growling at nothing near Eric's window. One morning, Eric woke to find muddy paw prints on his windowsill, like Buddy had tried to claw his way in. He knocked on Mrs. Calder's door. She just looked tired. "Buddy's been acting weird. He stares at your house all night," she said. "Last night, I swear he was growling at someone in your room." Eric didn't know what to say. That night, he moved the PC to the garage. He unplugged everything, even took out the hard drive. Still, when he came back upstairs, the same folder appeared on his family's other computer, this time named Hello Again. Desperate, Eric brought the disk to Mark's place. "Let's check it on my rig," Mark said. They booted the disk in Mark's newer PC, a faster model, full tower, RGB lights, way fancier than Eric's junk box. The same static, the same smiling face. But this time, a new option appeared, Share. Mark clicked it before Eric could stop him. The game window crashed. Their desktop wallpaper changed to a photo Eric had never seen before. The two of them, sitting in Mark's basement, with a pixelated sprite behind them, arms draped over their shoulders like an old friend. "Is this some prank?" Mark asked. Eric shook his head. They pulled the plug. But when they booted up again, every USB stick, every external drive Mark plugged in, showed the same folder. It was spreading. They met at an empty playground that weekend. Mark brought a hammer. Eric brought the disk in a Ziploc bag. They laid it on a cinder block and smashed it to shards. The boys watched as the pieces glinted in the sun. "That's it, right?" Mark asked. Eric hoped so. But when he got home, his parents were sitting at the kitchen table. His dad looked up, pale. "Eric, did you change something on the computer?" He followed them to the living room. Their family computer was stuck on a black screen, flickering text reading, "I'm not on the disk, I'm inside." Eric went back to the flea market alone. He found the same table, but the man wasn't there. Instead, an old woman sat behind the table, selling cracked VHS tapes and stained stuffed animals. Eric asked about the man with the discs. She shook her head. "No one's been here like that in years." He described the cardboard box. She shrugged. "People leave junk here all the time." Eric turned to leave, but the old woman called after him. "If you find something that doesn't belong to you," she rasped, "sometimes it doesn't want to be given back." Weeks turned into months. Eric's eyes were sunken. He stopped going to school. He barely left his room. His parents thought he was just playing too many games. They had no idea the old PC lay in pieces in the basement, cables torn out, the tower smashed open like a gutted animal. But the screens wouldn't let him go. Sometimes the TV in the living room would flicker at night, even when it was unplugged. Once, his alarm clock lit up at 3:33 a.m., the display glitching. Instead of numbers, it showed, "Look behind you." He sat frozen in bed. He didn't turn around. He started noticing it in other places too, on the grocery store credit card machine, a brief reflection in the black glass. One afternoon, he went to Mark's house to see if his friend was okay. Mark's mother answered the door, her face pale. "Mark's not feeling well," she said. "He keeps saying someone's watching him from his computer screen, but he doesn't have a computer anymore." Eric saw Mark standing in the hallway, eyes wide, face ghostly in the dim light. He was whispering something over and over, hands pressed to his ears. "I hear it scratching, I hear it scratching. It wants in, it's already in." Eric stopped using his home computer. He begged his dad to get rid of it completely. They did. They tossed the broken tower in a dumpster behind the grocery store. For a few nights, it was quiet. But the folder didn't vanish. It just found other ways in. The family TV started glitching, showing flashes of the smiling sprite when the screen went black between channels. Eric's parents thought he was imagining things. They told him to get some fresh air, focus on school. So Eric did the only thing he could. He stayed late at school, using the old computer lab to finish his homework. The computer lab was nearly empty in the evenings. Rows of dusty beige monitors, ancient towers humming under the desks. He logged into one of the machines, typed his report, tried not to look at the reflections in the black screen as it booted up. But after an hour, the monitor flickered. The folder icon appeared on the desktop, for you, even though it was a school computer. Wiped clean every night. Eric froze. He unplugged the mouse, but the cursor moved on its own. The folder opened by itself. The webcam, a tiny green dot above the monitor, flicked on. Eric didn't even know the school PCs had working cameras. On the screen, he saw himself. And behind him, in the reflection of the computer lab window, the pixelated face smiled. Larger than before, its mouth now split wide like a glitching wound. Eric ripped the power cable out. The screen went black, but every other monitor in the lab turned on by themselves. One by one, each showed the same image. The dark classroom, the empty chairs, and the sprite standing alone at the teacher's desk, waving. The door behind him creaked open. It was his classmate Hannah, who'd come back to grab her forgotten backpack. "Eric, what are you doing in the dark?" He spun around. There was no one behind him. But on the screen behind Hannah, the smiling figure was standing right next to her, its pixel hand brushing her shoulder. Hannah frowned, looking at Eric's terrified face. "Eric, what is that?" she whispered. The lights flickered, all the screens went dark at once, then flashed back, all showing the sprite's hollow eyes staring straight at them. Eric grabbed his bag, pulled Hannah with him. As they fled the lab, the overhead lights popped one by one, sparks falling like snow. Down the empty hallway, Eric heard a voice, tinny, distorted, like a broken speaker. "Thank you for playing." They didn't stop running until they were out under the night sky, breaths steaming in the cold. But even there, in the black windows of the school's front door, the reflection waited for them, smiling, watching. Thank you for watching Midnight Parables, where shadows speak and stories never end. Subscribe for more tales that blur the line between myth and memory.